Rochelle Levy Christopher. How are you today?
I am okay. I'm
Well,
going, recovery drink. I'm a little hungover. It was a good time.
you had a good time this weekend. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today on my passion project, Panic and Patience. What I like to do is shed light on amazing people who are doing dope work in our community, and I see you as just that. I have so much I want to talk to you about today, and I want to get to know you more, and I want my audience to get to know the amazing things that you're doing in the community. And so what I like to do with all my podcasts is to start with a story. So if I ask you, tell me a story, what you got for me today?
All right. So I think I'm about two weeks out from my 1-year wedding anniversary. So I'm going to tell the story of how I met my husband. And I know those are always boring, but this is good. This is good.
Okay.
So, all right. So boom, here we go.
I'm with you.
So I was at a friend's house party. I was young. I don't know how young I was, but I was young, like almost fresh out of college. And I was hella drunk, fresh out of college, house party, I was in that, right? So this dude walks in and he's taller than everybody. He's like 6'5", and I'm only 5'4". So I'm looking up, I was like, oh, who's that? So I walk up to him. Mind you, I am not a people person at all. I walk up to him and I go, hi, will you be my boyfriend? And he straight was like, nah. So to this day, he swears it's because I had on corduroy pants. And when I was walking, it was like, shh, 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 shh. So I got thick thighs, right? I think that's a lie because who wears corduroy pants? So anyway, we became really good friends and we would hang out all the time. And after a while, I was just like, all right, yo, he really don't want to date you. So that's that. So then I moved to New York and back home, I should say back home to New York because that's where I'm from.
Okay.
And we fell out of touch for years. Then one day on Snapchat, the same thing happened. I seen this fine dude. It was the same dude. This is me again. Hey, how you doing? And then we started dating. And then 3 years later, he asked me to marry him. And I feel like we could have been here if you would have just, that day that I had on the corduroy pants, been my boyfriend. Here we are.
And so what was it about him where you felt like you wanted to reach out? Because I'm sure you've seen a lot of guys throughout your years, social media, events, all these different things. You've been to more than one party. So what was it about him where you was just like, this is that guy where I'm going to get out of my comfort zone and holler?
But that is my comfort zone. Like, I'm very outspoken. So
Really? Okay.
I don't believe you should just sit back and wait. If you want something, you go for it, right? I don't know what it was or what it is about him. I just feel like I felt really comfortable with him. I was always able to be my authentic self with him. And I'm crazy. I'm a lot. I know I'm a lot. I'm a little person with a really big personality, and he's a really big person who's very like gentle and quiet. So it's really weird how we balance ourselves out. And I don't know. It's just like his energy connected with my energy, even miles apart, states apart. Like every time I see him, I'm just like, hey. So, right. And then I know he got to be like, this girl, but I love her. So.
That's dope. And so what's been you are a creative, and you do a lot of different things. And so I guess I want to start our conversation really by kind of getting your sense of how is what's going on in the world, culturally and politically, how has that impacted you as Ro the person? Because I feel like a lot of the times we are so connected to our creativity that it is us, we are what we write, we are what we sing, we are what we create. And so how has what's going on in the world affected you as the person in your creativity?
I feel like what's going on in the world has stunted my creativity because I'm very emotional and I get so frustrated I want to speak on so many things that I get overwhelmed, and then all I can do is like cry. Like I have so much anxiety when I turn on my TV, I scroll through my timeline, you know, it's just trauma after trauma after trauma. And to attack that creativity, to attack that through my creative side is like, where do I start? Where do I possibly start? What avenue, with what, through what platform? So I feel like I want to do so much that I'm kind of stuck. So what I decided to do was kind of leave my creative side until I could come back to it and attack things by being more of a service to people. So through my servitude to the community rather than through my art or through my creative side. Even though it's still of service through the arts, it's not my personal art.
So what have you done in that aspect, in the servitude aspect?
For one, I started the Boston chapter of the Black Girl Social Club because I feel like Black women are often left out of the conversation, and they're just as important as Black men. But we focus on the killing of Black people, yes, but it's more of the killings of Black men. But nobody talks about what happens after that. The Black women are left with the kids, the family, the bills. You know, the Black women have to be the one to close the wealth gap to be able to provide for their kids and things like that. So I wanted to create a safe space for, you know, a set of Black women to come together for support, to share energy, to be creative, to talk about whatever they want: health, wellness, relationships, family, jobs, whatever I can do to help this particular subset of the community. That's what I wanted to do with my personal time and my personal funds. And I love all the women who have joined me so far. It's a great time, you know. It gets heavy sometimes, but it's a great time.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up because I was listening to a conversation that Ibram Kendi was having a few weeks ago, and he mentions that a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times, when people refer to Black Lives Matter, we are automatically conditioned to think that Black Lives Matter is Black men.
Right? Exactly.
And so I'm interested to get your thought, because Black women have died as well, you know, in this fight and in this injustice. Whether it's Breonna Taylor, I mean, the list, Sandra Bland, I mean, the list goes on, right? Yes, they have been talked about, but there are plenty of women who have not been talked about, who also died at the hands of the law. And so what do you think about this surge in women coming out and talking about, you know, Black women need the support of Black men the way Black men have been supported by Black women? Is that a part of the conversation when you are with these other female colleagues, that you're having these types of conversations, not only about all the other things that you've mentioned, but that too?
It is. I feel like as Black women, we wonder, like, do our Black men have our backs like how we have theirs? You know, as Black women, I feel confident in saying we would lay down our lives for our Black men. I'll certainly lay down my life for my brothers, my husband, my father. But will Black men do the same? A lot of Black men publicly don't hold us in as high a regard as maybe their white wives. So we do speak about that, and how do we overcome that? How do we kind of change that brainwashing that the white women are held in such high esteem? They're so cherished. Why aren't Black women given that same pedestal? Like we are the strength, we are the backbone of the family. Why aren't we put in that higher regard? So we do have those discussions, and they're tough. And then it goes into, you know, colorism after that. So, you know, then within the Black community and the hierarchy of women, there's a colorism issue where a lot of Black men find light-skinned women more appealing. And it really ranges from light to dark.
Yeah.
And then the dark-skinned women get like the lower end of the stick. And that's, can I cuss on here? That's fucked up.
No,
So
keep it 100. Like be you to your full capacity here, because I think this conversation is interesting, because I'm not really sure these types of conversations are being had candidly. I feel like a lot of us are sort of dancing around this idea of Black female support. And so I'm interested to know, would you lay your life down for somebody who you don't know, right? Who's not your husband, who's not your brother? Because I think that's another conversation, right? Where, you know, us as Black men, we will protect our family, right? You know, our sisters, our mothers, our et cetera. I mean, especially Black men and their moms, it's like, that's a thing, right?
Yep.
That is a thing.
Yep,
right?
I know.
Right. And so I do think there's elements that we can point to as Black men and be like, nah, nothing's ever going to happen to my sister, my little sister, my big sister, or my niece, or my mother. You know what I mean? My aunts, my grandmother. Those are the women who.
But we have to have more of a tribe mentality. It can't just be your core family.
Exactly. And so do you think that that's what women are talking about? They're not talking about your immediate tribe. Are they talking about those who you may not know? Where do you think this protection of women, where is it coming from? Is it coming from women don't feel protected in their own homes, or women are feeling not protected by those who don't know them, who may not have a man?
Both. I mean, okay. I have a big ass man at home, but you know, I have to go outside by myself, and I'm shaped right. You know what I'm saying? So white men, all types of men, and it's just, it's gross how men how men accost you outside. And it's just gross. And I wish that, you know, the Black man standing next to the white man saying some crazy shit to me would speak up and be like, yo, no, that's not okay. You know what I'm saying? So I would say both. I would say we need protection in our family units and outside. You know, again, a tribe doesn't mean, you know, just in your house. Our community is a tribe. It doesn't matter if I go to Texas. The Black man who sees me, you know, getting berated by some white man in Texas needs to have my back. And it doesn't matter. Exactly. It does not matter. You need to have the back of your community, period. Period. So, and that goes for Black women too. So I have a lot of issues, and it goes both ways, right? But I can only speak to my personal experience. Like, I have a lot of issues with darker skinned women telling me I'm not Black enough because I'm light skinned. You don't know me. Like, you have no idea of my upbringing. I'm probably Blacker than you. And what does that mean to be Blacker than somebody? What does that mean? Is that experience? Is that skin color? Is that class? Like, what is that? What is that? I hear people saying that. What does that mean? I want somebody to tell me what it means.
Right.
I'll wait. Like, what does that mean?
Right.
So, you know, I'm always like, I don't understand, or that, you know, light-skinned women have it easier than dark-skinned women. I think it goes both ways. I may have it easier in my workplace, in my 9 to 5. I don't have it easier in a Black community because everybody's on me. Oh, she light-skinned, she got it easy. I don't. I grew up in Harlem in the 80s, and I was one of 2 light-skinned girls. It was me and Giovannia. We got jumped all the time just because we were light-skinned from our own Black community. What the fuck is that about? Right. There's so many things going on. Like, we just need to overcome and realize we are all Black. We are all going through the same thing. We are all trying to find our identity. We're all trying to get back to our roots. It doesn't matter if you pass the paper bag test or not. It doesn't matter if I know you or not. You're a Black king, you're a Black queen. I got you. And that's where we need to be.
And so what has been the response to that conversation with your female, you know, colleagues, or those that are in your tribe, your network, when they do present this as an issue that they perceive Black men as not being supportive or protective in that way? Do they see, like, do they tell you that guys are sort of like resistant to it, or, you know, like defensive? What is kind of, are they embracing that as a part of their struggle and things that they are feeling a way about?
I mean, I don't I don't have anybody in my tribe or that I know at all. Like even people I haven't met on social media, I feel like as Black women, we all kind of feel the same way, and we brace that the majority of Black men need to do a better job. You're asking your queens to step up for you, but what are you doing to step up for them? You know, you always see Black men glorifying everything else other than the Black women. We need to get back to glorifying our queens just the way we glorify our kings. So yeah, everybody I feel like is in harmony with the notion that Black men need to do better, but as a community, we all need to do better. Okay. And Black women need to do better amongst themselves and stop infighting.
Yeah, and I can see that. And so I have a lot of friends who are also creatives and artists in various ways, and they talk about, you know, BC, before COVID, right? What were sort of your creative outlets prior to COVID, and how did you express yourself, particularly being a black woman? You know, what were some of the things that you brought to the forefront through your creativity that I know you say you're kind of in a standstill at the moment, but I'm sure prior to this moment, you were creating things that really spoke to your core and your essence as a Black woman in this world. So what are some of the things that you were able to create? Or projects that you embarked on?
Yeah, I did a lot of art pieces. I did some documentaries. One of them was, Am I My Brother's Keeper? Yes, I am. Where I went and interviewed a lot of Black professionals, and just saying like how we can speak to the community and how we can hold each other accountable. And that was great. I really do love not necessarily filming, but editing. So I've done quite a few documentaries. I've helped with a Black Males Arts Collaborative, in curating some pieces for them, doing photography. I was the photographer and the videographer for the Black Millennial Mixer. I'm just out here and nobody knows that it's me because I tend not to be in the spotlight. But half the time, anytime you see a video or documentary, I'm probably a part of it. I help create a lot of brands. Spark FM, the first Black-owned female Black-owned radio station in Boston. I help with that brand. I help with that logo. I help with the website. I help with the business management because I do a lot of business coaching. So I really help develop that and get that off the ground in a more artistic way. Yeah, I do a lot. And when people ask me what I do, I find it really difficult. Because I don't keep a tally, you know? So like when I'm applying for grants and stuff, it's, oh, what artistic things? And I'm like, I've done nothing. And and then I'll have a talk with a friend and like, but you did this. I'm like, you're right. But because I love being of service to my people, I don't even remember that I did it. So
right.
Yeah.
So let's take a couple of steps back, because I'm interested about the documentary that you talked about, Am I My Brother's Keeper? Yes, I am. Right. What were some of the takeaways that you got from that project, and how did that transition into your next thing? Because sometimes when you do those things, you're either you're completely depleted or you're inspired to do more, right? And so,
I was depleted. It was a lot.
So what were some of the takeaways you got from that project?
That not enough people talk. And I feel like a lot of people who feel like maybe they're stuck or they're not at the level that society may deem that they should be at a certain age, you know, they're kind of ashamed, and so they don't reach out for help. A lot of West Indian people who need maybe mental health services, they're not talking to anybody. So it was, what I took away from that was, again, a sense of community. And that made me want to be involved more, not just in my tight-knit network, but I feel like from that experience, I wanted to kind of expand myself and kind of come back from behind the curtain, if you will, to kind of bring together the community as a whole, even if nobody knows my name, nobody has any idea who I am, just to kind of connect the dots and say, oh, well, you say you need this, let me connect you with this person and let's do this work together. Even if it's behind the scenes, the work is still getting done. So I left that experience with wanting to broaden my sense of community and community service.
Yeah, that's dope. And it's you brought up another interesting thing about mental health and West Indians. I just think for the Black community, period, all of us.
But West Indians are deep, boy.
Yeah, but I think for those who are creative, like it's almost like our therapy is how we create and what we create and the vehicles that we use in that particular time. Sometimes you could be like, I'm anxious, so I need to paint, or I need to get a film, or I need to color, or I need to whatever, right? But when we talk about mental health, I haven't heard, at least, and I'll speak for myself, I haven't heard mental health being celebrated as a field of study for Black and brown men and women. I feel like we've having the conversation of talk to a therapist, go see someone, etc. Right? But then on the flip side of that is like, if I am gonna put my barrier down and be like, you know what, I need help. This painting doesn't work for me, or this gym is not enough. Me talking to my friend, I need to talk to a professional. And then they go to look for a professional. They're finding professionals that don't look like that. And so there's a challenge there, right? It's because I heard my sister tell me, my husband, my wife, my girlfriend, my best friend, whatever, I listened to her and now I'm gonna get some help, but now I gotta listen to somebody who don't look like me to tell me about my problems and what I'm dealing with. And so we're being encouraged to go seek help, but there's no one that looks like us on the other side. And so why are we not having a conversation of, we need more of us in those positions? Because we talk about positions of economic empowerment and business owners. We talk about positions in education, being teachers. We talk about positions in politics, right? But that lane, I feel like we're just not having, and maybe it's just me. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I was gonna say, you clearly haven't been watching any of my virtual events because this is all we talk about. So the co-founder of my nonprofit, the BLACC Project, is actually a mental health professional. One of my best friends is actually a mental health professional. There are a ton of Black mental health professionals out here. Really? It's just, yeah. Okay, it's just nobody knows them.
Get me together there, because
I have a whole list. I put a post out too, mental health podcasts and everything, Black mental health. There's a ton of us. Nobody knows where to look, because I feel like the mainstream is just automatically, everything is whitewashed, right? So what's going to be pushed out there is going to be the white providers. Right. So you really have to go to somebody and say, hey, I want specifically a Black insert thing here.
Right.
And you can go, like, you can call whoever does your insurance carrier, and you can say, I want all Black everything. You can do that.
But, oh, well, we don't, their insurance, doesn't cover your insurance, so we don't take your insurance, or they're not taking any new patients or new clients.
Black people will take payment plans. I know, because I had to do it. There is I forget the name of them, but they're on Ashmont. They will take payment plans, and they're good. And if you're a Black man looking for a Black mental health counselor who's also a male to be able to relate to you, and who's also an immigrant who might be able to relate to you even more, I got you. See me after this.
Oh, yeah.
I have to look for the contact, but I got you. And that's what I mean about like connecting the dots.
I'm going to put that in the description below, because I feel like a lot of my peers, they're like, bro, like, my wife told me I need to get some help, and I finally broke down, was just like, all right, I'm going to go do it. And they was just like, no one for me. They were people, but they were not people for me. And I feel like that's incredibly discouraging.
And further, legally, a mental health professional cannot provide service that they think they're not qualified to provide. And they have to refer you to somebody who is qualified to listen to you. And that person is inevitably going to be another Black person. I actually had an allyship training with an all-white mental health service group based out of Revere. And I told them the same thing. You're not qualified to help people like me. You're just not. None of them disagreed.
Yeah.
And so they have the information. You just have to ask. I feel like people shy away from asking for all Black everything. My doctors, I
Yeah.
want all Black everything.
That's,
Everything. I don't care if it takes a year to find it. I want that.
mm-hmm.
Because like I said, I'm trying to have a baby. I'm going through IVF, and I'll be damned if I go through all of this and die giving birth because I didn't have a Black doctor.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's real, and I appreciate you, providing that information, because I think I feel like I'm not the only one who thinks that way or has that perception.
I will
If we get
provide you with a whole list. I got you.
dope, dope.
Yep.
And so the next question I have for you is, what is your thoughts on the ways in which symbolism has played out in our society throughout the Black Lives Matter era, right? Where they have Black Lives Matter being painted on the grounds in Nubian Square, and these advertisements and all those things. Like, what you giving me the side eye? So it's like, tell me a little bit about what's your thoughts on, as a creator and as someone who has dedicated their life to service and community and talking about tribe, particularly the Black and Brown community. What do you think about the symbols and what's actually really happening behind the scenes?
I think that a lot of these companies are just using Black people as a token now. I mean, I don't care how much you put a Black person on the cover of a magazine. I don't care how, or you're just now hiring your first Black photographer, and I'm supposed to be like, oh, this is so great. No, it's still fucked up. Like, why did it take you so long? You're not forgiven. And I feel like people are so quick to be like, oh, this is great, change. Bruh, they just want you to buy their magazine. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with Black bodies. It has nothing to do with us. It has to do with their bottom line. Don't fall for the hype. And as far as the Black Lives Matter movement, cool. We painting murals, we getting statues taken down. There's all of this artistic symbolism, murals going out. Word, that's dope. That's gonna invoke some conversation and change now. But what happens when that art is digested? What happens a year from now? Where what? Like, that's cool, but what happens next? That is not real change. It's a symbolism of the change that needs to occur, but it's not real change. And everybody gets in such an uproar. Oh, they did this. They took this statue down. They put this mural up. All right, bro. But that means nothing. That means nothing.
Yeah.
It gets white people in a tizzy, but it means nothing.
Yeah.
So what the real change has to be is a change in the political landscape, a change in, economics, closing the wealth gap, getting Black people in places of leadership. As an artist and as an accidental activist, like, all of this shit means nothing to me. It means nothing. People, this is great. And I just be like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I asked you that, because you're talking about, you and your husband are working to have a baby, right? And so, to be a Black woman and to be the sort of the foundation of the Black community as a Black woman, because you are the ones who take care of the families and birth our children and all of that, and to bring another child into this world, knowing what the world has to offer them. How has that conversation been with you and your husband? Because I know it's been I have 2 kids, right? And so it's been a challenge to me as a dad to just have these really uncomfortable conversations on the world that they're going to live in and have to survive in, right?
Yeah.
And so for you as a aspiring parent, what has the conversations been like between you and your husband, being so hypersensitive as an artist to what's going on, but also as a Black woman, dealing with what the political and cultural climate is?
It's been difficult in deciding, do we actually want to do this? because I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I'm terrified about the birthing process and being a Black woman, because Black women die 3 times more likely to die during childbirth.
Yeah, I had a
White
conversation with
women.
Miranda, who was telling me about the legislation that is being passed about about women being more vulnerable in that aspect. So yeah.
So there's that. I don't want to die and go through all this. I'm about to cry and like miss out on the upbringing of my children, and I have to talk to my whole family, not just my husband, about it. Like, if this were to happen, and it's sad that you have to prepare for your death in this way, right? But if this were to happen, because Rue, my husband, he's like, I don't want to say passive, but he's very gentle. And I'm like, I don't want my child to just be gentle. So you got to make sure my sister helps to raise the baby so they can pop off if they need to pop off. You know what I'm saying? But it's hard to even decide if we want to do this. My baby brother just graduated high school, and the whole family had to come together because he has behavioral issues. And our family is very open, and we're allowed to speak our minds. Whatever the consequences are, you have the floor to speak your mind.
Yeah.
You might get done up after, but and we have to tell him that's not how the world is. Like, you went off to school, he went away for school, and he came back to a world that is just not the same as it was when he left. Yeah. So, we tell him you can't wear a hoodie outside.
How long ago? How long was that? Like, what was the time frame? Was it like a few years, 5 years? Like, what was the
that he went away and came back?
Yeah, and came back.
2 years. 2 years.
And so it's happening like this. It's happening.
Yeah. 2 years. And he just doesn't understand. And we're like, it's not that we don't want you to go do things and have fun and live your life. You should be able to do that. But it's literally a matter of life and death now. So whereas before you would listen to us and you would still go act out, do what boys do, like what boys do. You can't do that. And we had to talk to him about, he likes white women. Shaquille, you can't, because God forbid, you guys have sex, their parents find out, and now all of a sudden you raped her. Like, even though it was consensual, there are just so many things in my mind. I had a full-on breakdown thinking about my brother just dying on the street. And that's when I found out all the mental health professionals, because I had such anxiety. I had to get medication just thinking about my siblings going off into the world without the protection of their family. Right. I was just like, no, like, broke down in the car driving, had to pull over. So the conversations are really tough. They're really emotional. And they have to happen frequently, because you gotta drill it in their heads. He's a teenage boy, he's 17. And then as far as having kids, I'm about to be 37. Like, let's say we wait to see if the climate changes, if things calm down. I don't want to be 40 something years old trying to have a baby. So it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. You might as well just try, cross your fingers, and hope for the best. So prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Right. That's real though. That's real. Tell me a little bit about the B.L.A.C. project.
It's the BLACC Project. So B.L.A.C. stands for the Black Literacy and Arts Collaborative. And we just promote activism and racial equality at the intersection of art, education, and innovation. So we really want to impact the community by, like I said, what happens when the art is done, right? So we service, youth, families, with a specific focus on youth, because that's who our next leaders are. Their families, entrepreneurs, small businesses, anybody, and I don't want to say color, Black people first. And people always get on me for that. And I'm like, I don't care. Black people first. Other people have other things. Black people first. At-risk youth, so we service them by providing education and workshops, all for free, but through the arts. We find an artistic way to give you this education. We find an artistic way to serve the community. So it might be like literacy through dance for something like that. You know, literacy through the hierarchy of text if you're into graphic design. As far as mental health, we might do body positive imagery through learning photography. So we just find artistic ways to bring the education to you. And we also have a program that we're going to roll out. We haven't named it yet, but we're going to follow youth from the 9th to the 12th grade. And every month we're going to focus on a different topic, whether it's mental health, entrepreneurship, investing, just critical life skills that they wouldn't get anywhere else. And an integral part of that program is for the Black youth to know their true history. So we're going to teach what's not taught in the history books. We're going to give you your true history. Okay. So that you know you're really, when we say hello king, hello queen, you know why. So act as such, you know. So that's a program, and you know, every year the focus gets more intense, so that by the time you graduate, you know, you'll have your college ready. There's plenty of scholarships and grants out there. We're going to help you get that. You won't have to pay a penny for college. My sister went through it debt free. She's entering her master's program.
What age does this start?
It doesn't matter the age, you just 9th grade through 12th grade. Okay. So you'll apply at the end of your 8th grade to get in. Once you get in, you're in the program for all 4 years.
But what if, say, you're a freshman already, or you're a sophomore, about to be a sophomore? Can you not be a part of it? Or?
You can. You'll just miss out on the foundational courses that we've laid. So it would have to be some type of bridge that you might have to do some summer work that other kids won't have to do to be able to catch up.
Okay, and then that provides opportunities for the next level of learning, whether that be college or otherwise.
Absolutely, and it just will make sure your network is enhanced. You have all you need, because I think that's super important. And then we also want to do that with business ownership. If you come to the BLACC Project with a viable business idea, we'll help you develop it, and we'll work with you to get funding, capital, investors, sponsors, whatever you need. And we'll work with you from that concept and that idea through your 5th year of business. Wow. To make sure that you have a stable business, and then we'll let you go.
That's beautiful. Have you had a class already? Like had a class that has matriculated through the whole program already?
We did some tests already, and yeah, I mean, they work. So now we're going to bring it to mainstream. Yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful. And so what was the inspiration behind that? I mean, obviously you've expressed there's a need for it, but we have a need for a lot of things, right, as Black people. And so why put it in this way?
I get inspired from my family. My family is very mixed. I grew up in Harlem. So there was art around me all the time. So art is in my bones. You know, everybody in my family plays an instrument. Everybody. I play 5. Wow. Everybody plays an instrument. We're all artistic in our own ways. And there's not one single person in my family who doesn't learn through art, who doesn't seek a form of art as meditation. So I got all of that from family experiences. And my younger brother and sister are adopted. So just, you know, learning and seeing them and how they operate with their behavioral issues. You know, I wanted a program to help kind of that intersection of the population who just love art and who want to grow. And I just pulled everything from growing up, from, you know, having to count quarters and stuff, you know, to get dinner. Yeah. You know, I don't know. I just pulled it from life and all my experiences, my mom's experience. Like, me and my mom are about, I think we're 15 years apart. So she's kind of like a big sister. So growing up with her was a different experience. You know, growing up with my dad, at one point my dad's Jamaican. I'm telling you, West Indians are a trip. You know, at one point he was like, "Oh, Rochelle's not my daughter." He said that to this woman he was trying to marry, who's now his wife. that made me feel away because you denied your daughter, you know? So that's where the mental health came in, and, you know, navigating relationships, and not just romantic relationships, but family and interpersonal relationships, because your upbringing can kind of sometimes mess with your head, you know? So just creating safe spaces for you to grow through artistic education.
Mm, that's wonderful. And do you find yourself leaning more towards connecting with young women, young girls, or has it been sort of an even balance between the young men and the young women? Because you obviously have a hypersensitivity to young men because of your younger siblings, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know, your challenges that you've had growing up as a young woman, as a young Black woman. You know, you have a, so has it been sort of a, I'm want to focus on that, or you just like, I'm down for everybody, I want everybody to have this?
I want everybody to have this, but I do feel a pull towards young women now, just because of the hyper sexual nature of the world right now. It's like, you don't have to wear nothing to be sexy, or, you know, just the mental wellness of young women right now. You know, social media kind of changed everything. People value their worth based on likes, based on how they look. You have to get the perfect angle, all that. Like, you have to have the perfect body. If you don't, you can buy it. I want to get rid of all of that. And then with, you know, Black men like my brother, I want to get rid of the notion that light skin equals better. I'm the lightest person in my family, and I struggle with that. Like, you'll see me laid out trying to get dark. So that's something I struggle with personally.
Yeah.
You know, I will oil myself up. For the life of me, I can't get a tan. So, you know, like, everybody's beautiful. You don't have to show all your body, you know, and just getting Black people back to their royalty, their roots of royalty, you know.
Yeah.
So it's for everybody, but I just want to empower more so Black women personally. But the programs I create are absolutely balanced and for everybody.
Yeah, I love what you talked about as far as, like, you know, addressing these young men and women as king and queens. I think that's incredibly important. On the other side of that, though, I can't remember where I read it, but it was along the lines of saying that before we talk about being kings and queens, we also have to raise our children to live up to their crown. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
So you just can't put a crown on someone.
You got to earn it.
You got to earn it. And so, what do you think about how we do that as a community? Because it's one thing to call our young men and our young women young kings and queens. It's another to teach them how to be just that. You know, because I feel like just saying it dilutes its prestige, dilutes the royalty of our ancestors. So what are some examples that you have from your experience or from your team's experience that have provided those opportunities for our young people to actually live up to that? You know, what things are you instilling in them to remind them that it's not just a thing that you say or the thing that you wear, it's something that you live up to day to day? What's your thoughts on that?
I think you have to immerse them in everything that's going on. A lot of parents, I find, try to protect their kids. You know, you talk to them to be aware about, like, going out and police brutality and all that. Are you educating them about their true history? Are you making them do community service, volunteer projects, stuff like that? Are you making them give up something that they hold dear? You know, time is precious. Make them go out and work in the community. Have them clean up. Have them help homeless people. Take them to a meth clinic and see what that's like. You know, growing up in my family, we've always done volunteer work. We have to earn everything. You want a present, you want a toy, you have to earn it. You want respect, you have to earn it. So for me, that's what it looks like. And I even integrate that into my youth programs. Your mandatory minimum volunteer twice a year, minimum. Even with the Black Girl Social Club, volunteer 2 times, two community acts of service yearly, minimum. Okay. So everything you get, you have to earn. And that's how I've always operated. And again, I feel like it is the job of a parent, and more so the job of the community too. Is growing up in Harlem in the 80s, everybody knew what I was doing. It was like so-and-so saw me on 146th Street would call my grandma, hey, I saw Red. They call me Red. I saw Red out here doing blah, blah. Like, you couldn't do anything, you know, like.
Village to raise a child, right?
Yes, exactly. So everybody needs to hold kids accountable. And I feel like that's what's wrong with the young generation now. Who's holding them accountable? I always look around and be like, if I was your mom, I will whoop your ass. Like, my mom would beat my ass. Even to this day, 36 years old, my mom give me the look, I'd be like, I just shut up. I just be like, yep.
That's it.
Yep. That's it. So where is that? I don't see enough of that. I don't see enough of quality parenting. I don't see it. I don't see enough of that, you know, it takes a village to raise a child mentality. I don't see that. And people are so, don't tell my kids what to do. Well, make them act right then. You know that's not right. You know what they're doing is not right. So if you're not going to raise them right and you're not going to let me talk to them, then what are we left with?
Right. And how has your curriculum, or how will your curriculum adjust given the circumstances now where, you know, maybe we can't be as physically close as, you know, as we were in the past, where group gatherings and, you know, field trips and different activities that students who would normally get together and come in community, it's a little bit of a challenge to do that now. Have you seen a transition yet, or are you still working on how that's going to manifest?
No, I've seen a transition. Now that things are starting to open up, a lot of places have made adjustments for social distancing. So all it takes is the same thing, just multiple times. Instead of taking the whole group, you know, you can only take 5 at a time. A lot of people don't want to keep doing it over and over. It's like monotony. But again, that goes into being of service to others. Sometimes this is just what it takes. And if that's what it takes, then that's what it is. So that's how I look at it. Not much has changed. It's just smaller groups, more times. Yeah.
And I guess my last question for you is, what can we do to help support what you're doing in the community? Like, what are 1 or 2 things that we can do to help support your work?
Donate. Because right now, believe it or not, I pay for the majority of it out my pocket. So my art supports my passion for community. So I just funnel one thing right into the other. So donating would be a big help. And volunteer. Hit me up. Let me know what you're good at. Let me put you to work. Come help me. So yeah.
Hey, dope. I'm gonna definitely you know, put all your links down in the description so people can find you. Thank you so much for this conversation. You are an amazing, you know, human being. I love what you're doing. I think your energy is dope, and I just want to let you know that I love you. I see you. You matter. Your work matters, and please continue to push through it all. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. I love you too. Oh, I love when people do that, because people think it's so like taboo. You don't love me. Why not? You're dope. I love you.
Right. Well, keep shining, Queen. Keep shining. I look forward to your next chapter.
Thank you.
All right. You take care. Bye-bye.
All right.